A cop laughed at my granddaughter for saying that Clint Eastwood is her grandfather. And then I stepped into the scene. What happened next, what I did, what I said, is something I've thought about every day since. And I'm going to tell you about it tonight because I think it matters. Not because I'm looking for applause or recognition, but because what happened to Maya that day happens to too many kids in too many schools and it needs to stop. Let me start from the beginning. I'm 94 years old. I've lived a long life, done a lot of things, made a lot of movies, met a lot of people. I've been called a legend, an icon. All these grand titles that make me uncomfortable because at the end of the day, I'm just a man. A man who's made mistakes, learned some lessons, and tried to do right by the people I care about. One of those people is my granddaughter, Maya Richardson. And before I tell you what happened to her, I need to tell you about how she came to be my granddaughter. Because that context matters. Back in the early 70s when I was still building my career, still trying to figure out who I was as an actor and as a man, I had a relationship with a woman named Catherine. She was beautiful, intelligent, working as a costume designer in Hollywood. She had dreams of her own ambitions that went beyond what most people expected from black women in that industry at that time. We connected. We spent time together. It was brief, but it was real. Catherine was black. I was white, and in the 70s, even in Hollywood, especially in Hollywood, that kind of relationship came with complications that we both felt: the pressure, the judgment, the unspoken understanding that being together publicly could damage both our careers. So we kept it private, maybe too private. When Catherine became pregnant, she made a decision that I didn't know about until decades later. She chose not to tell me, not because she didn't think I'd step up, but because she didn't want to be seen as someone trying to trap me or capitalize on my growing fame. She was a proud woman with her own dignity. And she decided to raise her daughter, my daughter, on her own. Her name was Diana. Catherine raised her with love, with strength, with everything a child needs to grow into a good person. Diana didn't know who her father was for most of her childhood. Catherine told her eventually when Diana was in her 20s, and Diana, being the brave woman she is, reached out to me. I'll never forget getting that letter. Diana wrote to me, explained who she was, who her mother was, and asked if I'd be willing to take a paternity test. She wasn't asking for money or fame. She just wanted to know the truth. I took the test. And when the results came back confirming that Diana was my daughter, I felt a lot of things at once. Regret that I'd missed her childhood. Anger at myself for not knowing. Gratitude to Catherine for raising such an incredible person. And determination to be present in Diana's life moving forward, even though I'd missed so much already. Diana and I built a relationship. It took time, patience, understanding from both of us, but we did it. And when Diana had Maya 6 years later, I became a grandfather. That title, grandfather, grandpa, it means more to me than any Academy Award or box office record ever could. Maya grew up knowing me as Grandpa Clint. Not the movie star, not the director, just Grandpa. I wasn't around as much as I wish I could have been. My work kept me busy, and the family chose to keep our relationship private to protect Maya from the circus that can come with fame. But I made sure to be there for the important things: birthdays, holidays, school events when I could manage it, phone calls to check on her grades, sending her books I thought she'd enjoy. Maya is special. She's quiet, thoughtful, brilliant. She loves to read, loves to write, has a mind that's always working, always questioning, always trying to understand the world around her. She's the kind of kid who makes you proud just by being herself. But Maya is also black. Her mother is black. And in this country, in this world, that means she navigates life with challenges I've never had to face. I know that. I've always known that. And I've tried in my limited way to understand what that means for her, to support her through it. Which brings me to what happened last November. It was a Tuesday. I had cleared my schedule because I wanted to surprise Maya with lunch. She'd been having a tough semester, new school, trying to make friends, dealing with all the normal teenage pressures. I thought it would be nice to show up unannounced, take her out for a good meal, spend some time together. Simple. Or so I thought. I arrived at Lincoln High School around 9:30 in the morning. I went to the front office, signed in, explained that I was there to take my granddaughter to lunch. The staff recognized me. Of course, there was the usual flurry of surprise and excitement. I'm used to it. I signed a few autographs, took a picture with the secretary, and waited while they figured out the logistics of pulling Maya out of class early. While I was standing there in the office, a girl named Sophia came running in. She was out of breath, clearly upset about something. She went straight to one of the administrators, a woman named Mrs. Chen, and started talking urgently. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I heard enough to understand that something had happened in the hallway involving a police officer and a student. Mrs. Chen's face went pale. She looked over at me and I saw something in her expression, recognition, concern, maybe even fear. She excused herself from Sophia and came over to me. "Mr. Eastwood," she said quietly, "I think you need to come with me. There's been an incident involving Maya." My heart dropped. What kind of incident is she hurt? She's not physically hurt, but Mrs. Chen hesitated, choosing her words carefully. One of our school resource officers stopped her in the hallway. There was a confrontation. Maya mentioned that you're her grandfather and the officer didn't believe her. He laughed at her. Mr. Eastwood in front of a lot of other students. It was recorded. I think you should see it. She pulled out her phone and showed me a video. 45 seconds that made my blood boil. I watched as a large white police officer, later I'd learned his name was Derek Hansen, stopped Maya in a crowded hallway. I watched him put his hand on her shoulder, question her about where she was going, demand to see her ID. I watched him order her to open her backpack, rifling through her belongings like she was a criminal. I watched Maya's face, frightened, confused, trying to understand why this was happening to her. And then, I heard her say it, her voice shaking. "My grandfather is Clint Eastwood. My family is full of people who have accomplished things you can't even imagine. So maybe you should think twice before making assumptions about people you don't know." And Officer Hansen laughed, a big mocking laugh that echoed down the hallway. He turned to another officer and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Did you hear that? Her grandfather is Clint Eastwood." "Sure he is, sweetheart. And my uncle is the president." He looked back at Maya, still grinning. "You know what I think? I think you're a little girl who's been caught acting suspicious, and now you're making up stories to try to make yourself sound important. Clint Eastwood, that's hilarious." I watched my granddaughter's face crumble that I saw the tears she was trying to hold back. I saw the humiliation, the powerlessness, the crushing weight of being called a liar when you're telling the truth. The video ended that I stood there in that school office, shaking with an anger I haven't felt in a very long time. "Where is he?" I asked Mrs. Chen, my voice low and controlled. "Where is this officer?" "Still in the main hallway. I believe Mr. Eastwood, the principal, is handling it." "You don't need to." "Yes, I do," I interrupted. "Get Maya. Bring her to the hallway and get the principal down there, too, because this needs to be dealt with right now." Mrs. Chen nodded. She understood. She went to make the necessary calls while I stood there trying to calm myself down, trying to figure out what I was going to say. "Here's what you need to understand. I'm not a violent man. I've played violent characters, but that's not who I am. I believe in talking things through and finding reasonable solutions to problems. But watching that video, seeing my granddaughter treated that way, hearing that officer mock her, something primal woke up in me, a grandfather's instinct to protect his grandchild. 5 minutes later, I was walking down the main hallway of Lincoln High School with Principal Morrison beside me and Maya beside him. Students were passing between classes, and as they recognized me, a hush started to spread. Phones came out, kids stopped walking. Everyone sensed that something significant was about to happen. Officer Hansen was, standing in the same spot where he'd stopped Maya talking with a couple other officers. He was laughing about something, looking completely comfortable and unaware of what was coming. I walked right up to him, stopped about 3 feet away, and I just looked at him. It took him a moment to notice me. When he did, his laugh died in his throat. His face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, recognition, disbelief, and finally fear. "Officer Hansen," I said. My voice was quiet, but in that silent hallway, everyone heard it. "I'm Clint Eastwood, and I believe you met my granddaughter this morning." You could have heard a pin drop. Officer Hansen's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. No sound came out. "I've seen the video," I continued. "I watched you stop Maya without cause. I watched you search her belongings without justification. I watched you put your hands on her. And then, this is my favorite part. I watched you laugh in her face when she told you the truth about who she is. When she told you I'm her grandfather, I took a step closer. You thought she was lying. You thought there was no way a black girl from this school could be related to me. That's what you thought, isn't it?" Officer Hansen finally found his voice, though it came out weak and uncertain. "Mr. Eastwood. I didn't know. She didn't look like what?" I cut him off. "Didn't look like someone who could be related to me." "Why is that, officer? Is it because she's black?" "Because let me educate you real quick. My daughter is black. My granddaughter is black. And, they're both incredible people who deserve respect, not harassment from someone who's supposed to be protecting them." The other officers had backed away. The students were recording everything. Principal Morrison looked like he wanted to disappear, but I wasn't done. "You know what bothers me most about this?" I said, looking directly into Officer Hansen's eyes. "It's not that you didn't believe Maya. You'd never met her before. You didn't know her family fine. I can almost understand the skepticism. What bothers me is how you treated her even before she mentioned my name. You stopped her for no reason. You searched her for no reason. You made her feel like a criminal for the crime of walking down a hallway while black." I gestured to the hallway full of students, many of them white. "Did you stop any of these other kids today? Did you search their bags? Did you question where they were going? Or was it just Maya?" Officer Hansen didn't answer. But his silence was answer enough. "I've played cops in movies," I said. "Good cops. Cops who understood that the badge is about protection, not power. Cops who saw people as human beings, not threats. You're not that kind of cop. You're the kind who uses authority as an excuse to bully kids who can't fight back." I turned to look at the crowd of students watching. "Let me tell you all something. I've had a lot of success in my life. I've been fortunate, blessed, whatever you want to call it. And with that success came a certain amount of power, a platform, a voice that people listen to. I could use that voice for all kinds of things. But right now, I'm using it for this, to tell you that what this officer did to my granddaughter is wrong. It's not just wrong. It's unacceptable. It's racist. And it's exactly the kind of behavior that destroys trust between communities and law enforcement." I look back at Officer Hansen. "You owe Maya an apology, a real one. Not because I'm standing here, not because you're embarrassed, but because what you did was wrong, and you need to own it." Officer Hansen swallowed hard. He looked at Maya, who was standing next to Principal Morrison with tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. "Louder," I said. "And be specific. Tell her what you're sorry for." Officer Hansen's face was bright red now. "Maya, I'm sorry for stopping you without a good reason. I'm sorry for searching your bag. I'm sorry for not believing you when you told me about your grandfather. I was wrong. And I pressed. And I'm sorry for laughing at you, for embarrassing you in front of everyone. It was unprofessional and cruel. Maya nodded, accepting the apology, though I could see it didn't erase the hurt. I turned to Principal Morrison. What are you going to do about this? The principal cleared his throat. Officer Hansen will be removed from the school immediately. There will be a full investigation. We take these matters very seriously. Do you? I challenge. Because from what I understand, this isn't Officer Hansen's first complaint. Other students, other families, they've raised concerns about how he treats students of color. So, either nobody's been paying attention or nobody's been caring. Which is it? Principal Morrison had no good answer. I could see the administrators scrambling mentally trying to figure out how to handle this situation that had just exploded in their faces. Let me make something clear, I said loud enough for everyone to hear. I didn't come here today looking for a confrontation. I came here to take my granddaughter to lunch, to spend time with her, to be a normal grandfather doing normal grandfather things. But when I walked into what Maya experienced this morning, that's not normal. That's not acceptable. And, if I have to use every bit of influence I have to make sure it never happens again, not just to Maya, but to any student in this school, I will. I looked around at all the students watching. Some of you have probably experienced what Maya experienced. Maybe not the exact same situation, but something similar. Being treated like you don't belong. Being judged by how you look instead of who you are. Being made to feel less than. I see you. I hear you. And I want you to know that it's not okay. And you deserve better. Then I did something that surprised even myself. I looked back at Officer Hansen and instead of continuing to dress him down, I took a different approach. You can be better than this. I told him, I don't know what's in your heart. I don't know what experiences led you to treat Maya the way you did, but I know that people can change. People can learn. People can choose to be better. You have a choice right now. You can be defensive, make excuses, blame everyone but yourself, or you can actually look in the mirror and ask yourself some hard questions about your biases, your assumptions, your behavior. The first path keeps you exactly where you are. The second path, that's harder, but it leads somewhere better. I paused, letting that sink in. I'm not saying I forgive you. That's not my forgiveness to give. It's Maya's. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be consequences for what you did. There should be, but I am saying that I hope you choose to learn from this, as if you don't, you're going to keep hurting people and eventually it's going to destroy you. Officer Hansen's eyes were watering now. Whether from shame, anger, or genuine remorse, I couldn't tell, but something had landed. I put my arm around Maya's shoulders. I'm taking my granddaughter to lunch now. We're going to go somewhere quiet, somewhere she feels safe, and we're going to talk about her classes, her friends, her dreams, all the things we should have been talking about today instead of this. I started to walk away, then turned back one more time. Oh, and one more thing to everyone recording this, and I know many of you are, I want you to share this, post it, tweet it, put it everywhere. Not because I want attention, but because I want people to see what happens when authority goes unchecked. I want parents to see what their kids might be dealing with. I want other officers to see what not to do. And I want other kids like Maya to know that they're not alone. That what happened to them matters. And that sometimes, just sometimes, justice shows up when you need it. With that, I walked out of Lincoln High School with my arm around Maya, leaving behind a hallway full of stunned students, embarrassed administrators, and one thoroughly humiliated police officer who had learned the hard way that mocking someone for telling the truth can backfire spectacularly. Maya and I went to a quiet diner about 20 minutes away. We sat in a corner booth, and for a while, we didn't talk about what had happened. We just sat there processing it. Eventually Maya started to open up. I didn't want to tell him you were my grandfather, she said quietly. I usually don't tell people, but he was saying things about my family, making assumptions, and I wanted him to know he was wrong about us. You had every right to stand up for yourself and for our family. I told her, you did nothing wrong. Nothing. You hear me? She nodded. But I could see the pain was still there. When he laughed. Grandpa, I've never felt so small, so powerless, like nothing I said mattered because of how I look. That broke my heart. I reached across the table and took her hand. Listen to me, Maya. You matter. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. What that officer did that was about his ignorance, his prejudice, his failure as a human being. It was not about you. You are brilliant, beautiful, and worthy of respect. And anyone who can't see that is blind. We talked for 2 hours about racism, about power, about what it means to navigate the world as a black woman when you're connected to privilege through me but still experience discrimination because of your skin. About how unfair it is that she has to think about things I never had to think about. About how angry I was that I couldn't protect her from everything. You did protect me today. Maya said, you showed up. You stood up for me. You made him apologize. You made everyone see what happened. That matters, Grandpa. That really matters. I drove her back to school after lunch. She didn't want to go back, understandably, but I told her the same thing my mother told me when I was young and facing something difficult. Don't let them see you run. You hold your head high and you go back in there and you show them that they didn't break you. So, Maya went back to class and I went home. But I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Over the next few days, the video went viral. Millions of people watched it. News outlets covered it. People debated it online. Some said I did the right thing. Others said I was too harsh on Officer Hansen, that I used my celebrity to bully him. That criticism bothered me at first until I realized something. The people saying I bullied Officer Hansen were the same people who had no problem with him bullying Maya. Their issue wasn't with bullying. Their issue was with who had the power in that moment. Officer Hansen was eventually fired. There was an investigation that found a pattern of discriminatory behavior towards students of color. Other families came forward with their own stories. The school district implemented new policies about police presence in schools, including training on implicit bias and strict rules about when and how officers could interact with students. Mia testified at a school board meeting about her experience. I was so proud watching her stand up there, voice shaking, but strong, telling her story. She wasn't speaking just for herself. She was speaking for every kid who'd been treated the way she was treated and didn't have someone to defend them. What my grandfather did that day, Maya told the school board, wasn't special because he's famous. It was special because he showed up. Because he believed me, because he used his voice to protect me. Every kid deserves that. Every kid deserves to have someone who will stand up for them when they're being mistreated. And every kid deserves to go to school without being scared of the people who are supposed to protect them. The room erupted in applause. Parents were crying, students were cheering, and I sat in the back row trying not to cry myself, thinking about how this young woman, my granddaughter, had taken something painful and turned it into something powerful. Now, I'm telling you this story tonight because I think it contains lessons that matter beyond just what happened to Maya. First, believe people when they tell you about their experiences with discrimination. Don't dismiss it. Don't minimize it. Don't explain it away. Just listen and believe. I've lived 94 years on this earth, most of them as a white man with increasing amounts of privilege and power. And there are things about the world that I will never fully understand because I haven't experienced them. But I can listen. I can believe. I can stand in solidarity. And so can you. Second, use whatever platform you have, whether it's fame, position, education, or just being an adult in a room full of kids to stand up for what's right. I happened to be Clint Eastwood when I walked into that hallway. And yes, that gave me a certain amount of power in that situation. But you know what? Every adult has power compared to a child. Every person who witnesses injustice has a choice to speak up or stay silent. Use your voice. Use your presence. Show up for people who need someone in their corner. Third, consequences matter. Officer Hansen apologized. And that was necessary, but it wasn't enough. He needed to face real consequences for his behavior. And the system needed to change to prevent future officers Hansens from doing the same thing to other kids. Apologies without accountability are just words. And finally, this is important. Don't let anger turn into hatred. When I walked into that hallway, I was furious. I wanted to tear into Officer Hansen with everything I had, and I did call him out firmly and publicly. But I also chose in the end to leave him with a path forward to tell him he could be better. Because if we write everyone off as irredeemable, if we don't leave room for growth and change, then we're not solving anything. We're just perpetuating cycles of hurt. That doesn't mean Maya or any other victim of discrimination has to forgive or forget. It means that as people with power, as people with platforms, we have a responsibility to call out injustice while also pointing towards something better. A few months after everything happened, I got a letter from Officer Hansen. I almost didn't read it. I was still angry, still processing everything. But eventually, I opened it. He wrote, "Mr. Eastwood, I know this letter can't undo what I did. I know saying I'm sorry isn't enough. But I want you to know that what happened in that hallway changed me. I've been in therapy. I've been doing serious work on my implicit biases and my behavior. I'm not asking for forgiveness or a second chance at the school. I know I don't deserve that. But I wanted you to know that you were right. I could be better and I'm trying to be. I don't know if Officer Hansen has truly changed. I hope he has. But that's between him and his conscience, between him and God, if he believes in God, between him and the people he wronged. What I know is this. Maya is okay. More than okay. She's thriving. She's using her voice, her experience to advocate for other students. She's thinking about going into law or education policy, about making systemic changes so fewer kids have to go through what she went through. And me, I'm just her grandfather. That's the role I'm most proud of more than any movie I've made or award I've won. I'm the grandfather who showed up when his granddaughter needed him. Who stood up for her when someone tried to make her feel small. Who used whatever power he had to protect her and to push for something better. That's what I'm asking all of you to do in whatever way you can. Show up. Stand up. Use your voice. Believe people when they tell you their truth. Demand accountability. But also leave room for redemption, for growth, for change. Because that's how we make the world better. Not by one big gesture, but by a million small choices. To do right by each other, to protect the vulnerable, to challenge injustice, and to never ever stay silent when someone needs us to speak up. A cop laughed at my granddaughter for saying Clint Eastwood was her grandfather. And then I stepped into the scene. What happened next wasn't about me being a hero. It was about being human, being decent, being a grandfather who loves his granddaughter and refuses to let anyone treat her as less than she is. That's my story. That's my story. And I hope it inspires you to write your own stories of standing up, speaking out, and showing up when it matters.